It's a very particular period that we've seen in literally thousands of movies between the 1860s and the 1880s in the American West, and that frontier as it was seen by Europeans at the time, anyhow. But the story you're telling feels very different than what people might expect from a Western. Good guys and bad guys, black hats and white hats, those kinds of things that the formulaic Westerns began to become. But the Western can be a very malleable form. I want to know what attracts you to it. This is not your first Western that you've acted in anyhow. But what is it about that time and place and those characters that is interesting to you?
I'm not sure. I mean, maybe because it's just so stripped down, and I mean, like in any genre, most westerns are terrible. I mean, they're not good movies. But if you're preparing for a western to shoot one, then you look at them, and there's things. I mean, we looked at. I mean, I shared them with Viggo, with some other people. Certain westerns, even if they're bad, there's details that are good. And
were there any non-bad ones that you?
Oh yeah. Many. But I mean, just there's details like the way people ride, or say, Anderson was looking at them for the costumes, and Carol Spear for the, what the houses look like, what things look like. We wanted to get it right. We worked really hard at that. But people were from all over the place. Vivienne, where she's from, Bowler, and just different people. It was much more of a, you see that in some westerns, much more of a melting pot. But it was also that time, not that things have changed enough, but at that time, for little girls, for women, at that time it was, I don't know, it seemed right in that period to show something where, whether it's little girls, whether it's Claudio's daughter, or whether it's little Vivienne, one way or another, they're adapting to what men want to do, and what men need, and sometimes what men insist on. They're adapting rather than being allowed to be the one adapted to, right? All the women you're looking at, it's just even the way they're spoken about in the bank scene, it's, oh, you mean Kendall's fat ass widow, well, we'll get around her, it's like everything, it was just it could be set now, I started writing a story about this little girl that had this image, wasn't intending to write a Western, but it just sort of fell into place that way. So.
Can you talk about that image that you started from?
Well, my mom has, she had lots of illustrated books, some of them with knights in them, medieval things, adventure stories, some little girls kind of books from I guess they would have been from the 20s and the 30s. And I have a lot of those books still. And she told me she used to read these. And just looking at the books and knowing my mom, how her imagination was, and how she was kind of bold. She moved far away from home and got married, unlike her sister and her brother. In her way, she was kind of intrepid. And I just imagined her, after she passed away, I imagined her as a little girl in those forests, and that slope and those maples looks exactly like where she used to play, on the other side of the St. Lawrence River, but same kind of look. And then, I don't know if she went out there and thought she saw a knife for real, she might have, but I just started there, and I thought, okay, what's this, I know it's her. When is